Welcome to the LIMB-itless podcast. The LIMB-itless podcast is centered around exactly that, being limitless. Hunting, fishing, fitness, nutrition, adventure, disabilities. What may be covered during the LIMB-itless podcast will be, well, limitless. Stay tuned for this episode of the LIMB-itless podcast.
Cheers, amigo.
Cheers to a good weekend that's slow rolling to an end, but she's not over yet.
Nope. We still got daylight.
We do have daylight, and we have a dinner date with the girls.
Yeah.
Hopefully, without too much of a delay of
Horse selfies.
horse selfies and cartwheels.
Oh, there'll be cartwheels during dinner.
You think so?
Oh, that's the evening entertainment.
Well, there we go.
That's right.
That's I guess that's the trials and tribulations of having dinner with the outlaw.
There's no telling what will happen.
Well, greetings to another LIMB-itless podcast from Lampasas, Texas. Sitting here with truly a good friend of mine, Chris Dunlap. This is not the first time that I have podcasted with Chris, but it is the first time that I've podcasted with Chris on the LIMB-itless podcast.
That's a fact.
So this episode's going to be focused around the annual Amputee Archery Grant Initiative, which most people know it or see it advertised as the A3G Initiative. And Chris and I are both board members for this 501c3 nonprofit. It's a national nonprofit. When we say national, meaning that it is open to amputees in the lower 48. We don't...
Well, it's open to everybody. Our airfare sponsor covers airfare in the lower 48.
That's what it's only.
Yeah.
It's open right now. It's open to the lower 48. If that changes in the future, then we'll have to make adjustments for that. And there's possibility, just not right now. But we're in our third year, and we've grown. It's been a great journey to be on, and each year the growth, I truly believe, has been brought on at the appropriate time for the right need, the right person, the right reason, and the right pace.
It has. You know, last year, from year 1 to year 2, it pretty much doubled. Because we had the archery package, and we doubled it by adding the hunt.
Correct.
And this year, we still keep those two things. And then we added the gas event for our recipient, right? Before the hunt, here in a couple months. And so, what are we gonna do next year?
Well, let's. Man, I don't want to jump the gun yet. We've got a lot to talk about just for this year, but
we do.
For any listeners that have not heard a podcast or information on this nonprofit, and I've been fortunate to have been hosted on a couple of different podcasts and share about the A3G. But when this grant started, it was not for a formal 501c3. It was actually created on a couch in the living room of the house that my wife and I own in Virginia Beach. And we decided we were going to do the A3G. And so we just started canvassing the archery industry for a bow package, and we ended up with over $8,000 worth of industry-leading archery gear and outdoor equipment. Or maybe I should say archery equipment and outdoor gear. Either way, potato. And we made that year's recipient announcement at the Total Archery Challenge at Seven Springs in Pennsylvania, and we were super fortunate there. Met the gentleman that was running that TAC event. His nickname was TAC Jesus, and he saw the LIMB-itless truck because I had the fresh wrap on it. And Prime was there, and Prime Archery was the bow sponsor that first year. They had their exhibit there, and TAC allowed us to park the LIMB-itless truck right next to the coveted TAC truck that people compete for. So we were right down by the practice range and the TAC truck shot, and we filmed and made the gas announcement there.
Grant announcement.
The grant announcement, and Prime was there and participated, and so was a gentleman by the name of Phil Keppel, who was the owner of Four Arrows Outdoors up in New York, and Phil was instrumental in connecting me with Prime. So all three of us were there. It was a really, really good experience. And then we drove to Wisconsin and presented all of the equipment in person to the very first recipient. And then we grew. The following year, we took the step in legally becoming a 501c3 through the help of your gracious mother, who has a little bit of a background in that arena.
Our resident tax advisor.
That's correct. And an incredible cook, by the way. And she's a little bit spicy, so it's a lot of fun to be around.
She's ornery.
Oh, yeah. But so the second year, we became a 501c3. And the owner and the manager of the 4J Ranch offered their property and one of their deer to the grant and your services. So we added the annual hunt package to the grant, that was my vision and desire for the first year as well. But it's, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Well, and how that all came about, though, is the first year the recipient, you'd wanted to do that. It was kind of an idea. Funding wasn't quite there yet.
At all
to do that. And when you were out the year before hunting with me, we talked about how hard it's going to be to find some place for the recipient to hunt, depending on what state they live in, how much is it going to cost. And I just said, well, why don't we just do it here?
And it was a brilliant idea, because my thought was I would have to try to find an outfitter or a property owner in whatever state our recipient was for that particular year, so they could hunt as a resident. And
you wouldn't know what you're getting until you get there.
Would have no idea. And there's a trust factor there as well, right?
Yes.
Because that hunt would be attached to the A3G name, and that means a lot to me as well. So Chris stepped up to the plate on that endeavor with the assistance and support of the 4J Ranch, and we implemented the hunt last year, and it was incredible.
And my bride was a big part of that, because
your wife, your family as a whole, Chris, was a huge piece of last year's success. Not just what they offered up for the grant and the support, but just the interaction and the energy that they put into it. It's we're not family by blood, but we're family by service, we're family by friendship, we're family by faith. And the hunting event here in Texas it's a family run event.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it should be. We bring the recipient in, we feed them, we house them. We're here at my ranch. They've got their own, we got our own guest house, which is where we are now, and they get to they're not underneath the outfitter's nose in a lodge somewhere, tiptoeing around, and they can get away and decompress if they want to call their wife or whatever, and then we can all gather up and fellowship and go out and chase whitetails.
And how many outfitters would shut down their entire operation for a 3-day period for one person to hunt their entire property? So the 4J Ranch is 2,300 acres, low fence, whitetail hunting. And our recipient is the only individual hunting on that ranch for that time period. Outside of, I will be transparent and say that I go to the opposite side of the ranch and I shoot pigs. I'm not deer hunting. Nope. I'm shooting pigs out of a box blind if a sounder comes in.
Yeah. And it's the first hunt of the year. So nobody's hunted there all year. And we have the ability to go put out our blinds that will suit our amputee, that fit our needs, because the ranch isn't necessarily set up for bow hunting. We don't sell hunts there to begin with, and but we can go out, we can set the ranch up for ourselves, for the recipient, and tailor it to their abilities, their ambulatory abilities, whether they're going to be in a track chair, whether they need a special shooting rest in a blind, if they're an upper limb amputee, or whatever they need. And we can set everything up, get our blinds brushed in, get it all set, and when they go out that first morning, it's ready to go. And nobody has shot at a deer, chased a deer, or anything out there since the year before.
And when you talk about most guide services and or ranches that are making a living off of selling hunts, they're hard pressed to offer something like that.
Well, that's how they pay their mortgage.
Exactly.
That's how they feed their families, and you can't begrudge them for it. And
not at all.
I've been very fortunate. I've been hunting on 4J since probably 2017. I've never killed a big deer on the ranch, just because, and the ranch owner's son, he hasn't killed a big deer on the ranch since 2016.
Well, it runs in the family, because I haven't killed the deer on that ranch either.
Well, no, we don't let you kill deer. They're not old enough for you. But, the one thing we do...
That's another story for another time.
The one thing we do at the 4J, just to highlight what that family does with that ranch, is the ranch owner's son is the manager. He lives on the ranch along with his mom and dad. And myself...
Andrew, I'm going to defend you in this podcast. Andrew does not live with his mother and father.
No, he lives in a separate house on the ranch with his wife. Anyway.
Goodness.
We've done a lot of work. Andrew's done amazing work out there, and I've helped him manage this ranch for some quality Central Texas deer. And again, we don't sell hunts. We use those deer that we are able to grow out there for good cause, like the A3G, the Friends of Wishes hunt, which is a ARMA Make-A-Wish Foundation, things like that. We'd rather see somebody who's not going to get a chance to shoot 125, 130, 140-inch deer maybe once in their lifetime. I'd rather somebody that comes out and shoots that deer, and it's the best thing they've ever shot in their life, and it just makes their world, than for me to go out there and shoot it.
And when we say once in a lifetime deer, I'm going to cover these facts again. So what makes this deer a once in a lifetime deer as a 120, 130, or 140-inch deer, other than the fact that the average American never shoots a 140-inch deer?
No, they don't.
If they're actually measured and taped and scored,
and it's even harder as a bow hunter.
Correct.
And I've bow hunted since I was 13, and I'm 45. It took me until 2018 to shoot a Pope and young deer.
So what makes this a lifetime deer? It's the fact that this recipient, once they're boots on ground, they are treated like they're the most important person in the entire world, like celebrity status. Their airfare is paid for, their baggage is paid for, their parking is paid for, they're shuttled from personally with mano a mano from the Austin airport to the ranch and then back when the adventure is over. They're staying in this great little cottage. If we weren't so comfortable right now, I would grab the camera and I didn't watch MTV growing up or as it progressed, but I do know that there was something called MTV Cribs, right? I mean, we could do that. We could reenact that here and we could give you a run through because we're in the cottage right now. They stay in this cottage on Chris's ranch. It's a master suite, so it's a king size bed, their own bathroom, which is massive. We have our own kitchen. I stay in the smaller bedroom down here with them, so we have the cottage.
All ADA accessible.
Absolutely. And we feed them. We hydrate them.
We overfeed them.
We hunt them on the ranch and have a ton of fun with them.
We do.
If they harvest an animal, the meat is processed for them. The meat is shipped home for them in a custom A3G Initiative grizzly cooler at no cost to them.
And they get to choose their processing. It's not, well, you just get the basic cut.
That's correct.
Whatever's cheap. My processor is phenomenal.
Processor's name is Myrix, out of Lampasas, Texas. Incredible man.
Yep. And he also does the taxidermy, does incredible work. They can have their meat cut however they want. They want summer sausage made. They want pan sausage. They want steaks, roast, burger, whatever they want. It's taken care of.
Yep. And then also, Myrix has thrown in a full shoulder mount and the shipping for that shoulder mount. Mm-hmm. If the recipient does not want a shoulder mount and they want a Euro, then Centex Euro here in Texas has offered up the Euro, and then we ship it for them as well. So when we talk about this being a lifetime hunt, this is, and when we call it an all-inclusive hunt, it is the full meal deal.
We give them everything to be successful. All they have to do is shoot their bow beforehand and practice.
Yep.
And get themselves to their closest airport.
That's correct.
That's all they got to do.
And show up here with a positive mental attitude.
Yep.
PMA.
Ready to have fun.
Absolutely.
No Debbie Downers allowed.
No. So that's the hunt that we added. That is the activity that we added to the grant in 2023. So now let's talk about this year. How did we grow? How did we move forward this year? And this is just where the archery community itself, when you get away from social media, is so amazing. Chris introduced me to gas bowstrings shortly after we met. I always shot factory strings, and Chris introduced me to gas bowstrings, so I purchased.
I called Eric and said, "Hey, you need to send this guy some strings."
You sent me. I think you burned one of your sets.
Yeah, I did.
And I ordered the Gas Ghost 4 strings. Love them. So I have them on my bow. And when we kicked this grant off, Chris reached out to Eric Griggs at Gas and said, "Hey, Eric, do you want to be a part of this grant? I believe in this. I think it's something that you would be interested in." And Eric said, "Absolutely, yes, I'd love to provide custom bowstrings for the recipient's bow." So we started. Gas has been with us all 3 years.
Yes.
And I was at the ATA this year, and I was with Latitude Outdoors, who also supports the grant. And we had finished setup, and I was walking through the main floor, and Eric was at his booth with his entire team. And I walked up and shook Eric's hand, and we were chatting, and Eric said, hey, do you mind telling my entire team about your nonprofit? He said, I know we've all heard about it, but I'd really like them to hear straight from you if you have the time. Just please educate my team on what your grant's about.
And ATA, for a lot of folks don't know what ATA is. ATA is the Archery Trade Association's annual show they put on usually in January every year, and it's for all the major manufacturers in the archery industry to showcase their latest and greatest, what they're coming out with for this year. And it's where all the dealers, all your archery pro shops and dealers are going to go to place orders for this year's stock and see what's coming out and renew business relationships. It's not really open to the public as much as SHOT Show is on the firearm side, but it's a great show. If you ever get a chance to go, I highly recommend it.
I agree, it's a very busy experience for the folks that pay to have a booth there. It's a very busy event for them, and Eric just put the brakes on everything and said, hey, will you please take the time to educate my team on the A3G, because we're part of it. So I sat there and we started discussing it and the 5 W's and how it impacts people and what my thought process is and my vision for it and everything else, and answered some questions. We all chatted about it. When it was all over, Eric said, I have an idea that I would like to present to you. And his idea was, this is just absolutely amazing. Eric said, I want to host your recipient at GAS. I would like to build the bow at GAS because you have to put our strings on their bow anyhow. And then we have all of our staff shooters. And when we say staff shooters, these are pro level. Some of them they compete internationally. Mm-hmm. Whoever's in town or at the facility, when we have your recipient on site, we're going to provide one-on-one professional level coaching for your recipient.
And if need be, if we need a special coach for a mouth tab shooter or something like that, I'll fly them here and we'll take care of it.
Just completely opened the doors and rolled out the red carpet to our 2024 recipient. So the board had a quick meeting on that offer, and we all unanimously said absolutely. And we left the ATA with a mutual agreement between the A3G Initiative, who the vice president, Al Quackenbush, was there with me. So Eric Riggs and Al and I all had a mutual agreement that we were going to roll this out this year. Well, when the time came to really start putting the rubber to the road on that topic, we reached out to GAS and set up a Zoom call with them. And Eric, again, brought his whole team into that meeting.
He did.
And had them present on a Zoom call to prepare for our recipient. And I can't express how it makes me feel to have a company like GAS just come to the table and say, not only do we like what you're doing, we wholeheartedly believe in what you're doing, and we want to help you leverage archery as a way to improve the lives of those that need to overcome obstacles.
And just to share a small part of that meeting we had, and this is what makes Eric Griggs stand out above his peers, I think, is when we were talking about bringing a video guy to do some video. Mm-hmm. and he said, well, we have a great video team here we can use. And then, the concern gets into, well, what if we use your video guy, what are we allowed to use of your video, because that's your intellectual property? And Eric's like, you can use whatever you want. You know what? I have My pro staff manager used to do archery media. She'll help your media guy, and you get all the footage. We don't want the credit. We're not doing it for likes, clicks, or money.
Exactly. And not only that, so Sarah is the individual that we're talking about.
Yep.
Sarah, you're awesome, by the way. If you happen to listen to this podcast, you're just awesome. We let them know that our videographer that is coming to that event is new to the industry. Mm-hmm. Sarah's been doing it for quite some time. And Sarah said, hey, I will step back into B-roll and I will help mentor that camera person, that videographer, in shooting the footage, filming the footage for that event. That is the level that Gas Bowstrings, their team, operates at.
That's why I shoot for them.
It's amazing, right? So that is what we've added to the A3G this year. So now we are recording this podcast in the cottage in Lampasas. This is, did we say it was 3 hours? No, it's 4 hours. 4 hours post making the public announcement that Dustin Pruett is the 2024 A3G recipient. And this young man has the opportunity to be our very first amputee to go to the gas facility. What bow? I'm going to have you introduce this bow.
You would.
Because you're such an elite archer. So, you like that little plug? Is that a plug or a stab?
Yes.
Yes. So what bow company stepped up to the plate this year? And when I say they stepped up to the plate, they didn't just say, hey, we'll donate a bow. They said, we're going to donate a bow and we're going to throw every accessory that our company has for said bow. So what company is that, Chris?
Well, every accessory minus the sight.
Correct. What and the rest. What just spit it out. You're burning up airtime.
Hoyt.
What's that?
Hoyt
Archery. Identified.
Now, I'll be honest. And I ran a pro shop for years that sold Hoyt and Matthews and Elite. And there is nothing wrong with a Hoyt bow. Any flagship bow from the top manufacturers is a good bow. I just don't like the Hoyt grip. That's my only. It's a good bow. It doesn't fit me.
I would agree with you on the fact that when you get to the flagship level bow at any manufacturer, they're incredible pieces of equipment, right? Hoyt Archery identified the fact that the A3G Initiative, the cornerstone of what we do is the bow. It does not matter and when I say how good the sight is, because HHA Sports owner Chris Ham planted the seed for this grant, and unintentionally, but he planted the seed. They have been providing bow sight all 3 years. Hoyt identified the need that without the bow, we don't have the A3G Initiative.
We don't.
It doesn't matter how good the bow sight is. It doesn't matter how good the hot shot release is. It doesn't matter how good the Gas bowstring team is and their string sets are.
You got to have something to put them on.
Absolutely. We have to have that bow platform. And Hoyt said, we will fill that need for you, and we are going to build a bow to the specs of your archer. And we're going to work with them on a custom bow with all of our accessories that they want or need.
And to go back to Gas, Eric has an excellent relationship with Hoyt. And even Eric's suggestion was this year, we'll order the bow with one set of limbs on it, and then, we'll say 60 to 70 pound limbs, and we'll get some 50 to 60 pound limbs as well. So that way, if we determine, hey, 55 is his max he can draw, we've got those limbs here. We'll swap them out and keep working with him.
And it was just when we made the social media post that Hoyt was stepping up to the plate for A3G, Eric himself was making comments on the fact that he fully supported that connection and relationship. And when we had our meeting, he said, this is going to be super simple because Hoyt is an incredible company to work with. And so we have Hoyt on board this year. I think we got a little sidetracked and tunneled in, so we're going to talk about sponsors for a minute. So, LIMB-itless podcast break. Speaking of sponsors, I would like to thank sponsors of this podcast.
Okay.
You guys are you're not just a huge piece for me and supporting me. It's my listeners that they're really contributing to. So, big thanks to Phelps Game Calls, Wilderness Athlete, Vortex Optics, On Point Adventure Foods. Love their stuff. We have Hunting Day Coffee and the Love Sauce. I'm not going to go through all the listener codes in this episode. There are other episodes out there that I run through all the listener codes. You get anywhere from a 10 to a 25% discount on or from those different companies. So episode 1 for sure, but there's other episodes that all those listener codes are listed out. So Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, and the other thing I would encourage everybody to do is as you learn more about the grant and who all is behind it in the industry, sponsor-wise, support them. If you're looking for a new site, I'm not telling you have to buy an HHA site, but give them a look, and if that's the site for you, buy it, because by you supporting them that enables them to have the funds and the resources to support this.
And it's not just this. It allows them to support 501c3s
Yes.
across the nation that are focused on doing things similar to what the A3G does. So who are some of those major sponsors for us?
Well, we've already covered Gas Bowstrings, obviously, Grizzly Coolers, Morel Targets, Vortex, your favorite Zinger Fletches with their Canati arrows.
Zinger Fletches and Canati arrows.
Matt from VIP.
Anybody that's listening that's never heard of or seen Zinger Fletches, check out zingerfletches.com. They're incredible. Yes, VIP Archery. The hinge pin to last year's success. So VIP Archery, they make mechanical broadheads, and I have shot deer, big game, with 3 of their broadheads that they manufacture. They're original veteran, and I helped test the Commander. My favorite broadhead that they make is the Combat Veteran, and that is the broadhead that we provide all of our recipients. And last year, due to all the moving parts and pieces of putting a bow in a new archer's hand, putting them in a blind for the first time, not necessarily the first time for Chris Norton being in a blind, first time for Chris Norton shooting and hunting a compound bow out of a blind,
yes,
and the excitement of having a Pope and Young deer 37 yards in front of him, and everything else that was happening that weekend. Chris executed a
less than ideal
shot on that deer, and that is the design feature built into that broad, the lethality of Matt, who is the owner of VIP, His engineering brain behind that broadhead, the combat veteran, that shot should have been, any other broadhead would most likely have been an unrecovered animal. That deer went 70 yards. And we had an amazing blood trail after about, what, 30?
20.
20?
And then it was as if somebody took a 5-gallon bucket of paint, of red paint, and just tipped it just enough to have a solid stream for 70 yards.
It was influential in that success.
It was.
So if you're not familiar with VIP Archery and the Combat Veteran, highly recommend that you check them out. Lakewood bow cases. Sarah, another Sarah, jumped on board with A3G the very first year. Major contributors, major supporters for the grant. You said Morel Targets, right?
I did.
We already said Latitude Outdoors.
Hot Shot.
Saddle Company is big supporter of the grant. Hot Shot Archery, Robin Parks at Hot Shot Archery. Again, I'm gonna give a shout out to Robin. Typically, he donates a cinch caliper release. It's a wrist strap style caliper release. That was per my request because I shoot a wrist strap caliper style release, and so that's what I've asked to be a part of the grant. Due to this year's recipient, Dustin Pruett, who has a right hand deformity, he's struggling with a caliper release. So Robin Parks fielded a phone call from me, and we discussed Dustin's limitations and the issues with his hand, and that we were looking at a thumb release, but it needed to be a wrist style, wrist strap style. And Robin said, Aaron, we have the exact release that he needs. We will ship it to Gas so that he has it for that entire weekend.
he's sending both of them for him to try and work with what fits him best.
Well, we're going to focus on the thumb release.
Yeah.
But, yep. So again, just another stellar company that's willing to step up to the plate. It's not that they're not so much they're helping us, they're helping an amputee break into the archery industry and the hunting side of archery. Grizzly Coolers, holy cow. Mason at Grizzly Coolers, such a great dude. Met him at the ATA last year. And again, another company that once they saw the black and white and met the people involved, they said, we 100% want to be involved with what you're doing. So not only did they donate one of their hard-sided coolers, and they opened the catalog to Al Quackenbush and I and said, which cooler do you want? So I feel like we made a responsible, gracious request on their 70-ish quart hard-sided cooler. And Mason said, awesome, easy day.
Send me your logo.
Send me your logo, and we are going to customize the lid on your cooler. Again, as a donation. So now we have a super nice, one-of-a-kind A3G Initiative cooler for the recipient, which last year I had it delivered to Chris Norton on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. Myricks, again, I mean, the people involved with this, it's just, man, this is why it hits me in the feels every time I get to announce who our recipient is, because everybody involved with this and how much heart they put into it. Myricks Meat Processing, he is shipping the meat at his cost to our recipient. So when it was time to ship Chris Norton's deer to him, he went and bought a cooler to ship the meat in. So now we're having Grizzly ship the cooler here to Chris Dunlap, and then we will take said cooler down to Myricks and we will pack the meat into Dustin Pruett's custom Grizzly A3G Initiative cooler.
That's right.
And that's what his meat's going to be shipped home in.
And he gets one of their soft-sided coolers.
Two
of them, yeah.
They're shipping 2 of their soft-sided coolers to him.
Yeah.
Hunting Day Coffee. Stephen Robbins, man, another great man of faith, outdoorsman, archery hunter, Virginia resident. He and his wife and his kids, they're all active in the outdoors, love to hunt. They started a coffee company. Met Stephen at the ATA. Hunting Day Coffee is donating coffee and mugs and some other stuff to the A3G. And holy cow, is their coffee good.
And let's be honest, between you and I, on hunt weekend, we go through some coffee.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Wilderness athlete.
Wilderness athlete. So I'm a huge fan of Wilderness Athlete. I got Chris hooked on some of their products. Wilderness Athlete ships nutrition items to the recipient. They jumped on board last year. We have
Defiance Ranch Racing.
Yes, what a husband and wife team at Defiance Ranch. And there's a really cool story about their ranch, how it obtained the name. They have a passion for Ferrari race cars. Well, Ferrari in general. They do have a race car. We just had a great experience with them at the Circuit of the Americas here in Austin, kicking off their circuit. And they sponsor, I'm just, no reason to throw out a figure, but they pretty much sponsor all of the travel.
They said we'll cover all the travel expenses inside the lower 48.
Yep.
So that's airfare, that's baggage fees,
parking.
That's parking for the recipient at the airport, close to their home, all that. The husband of Defiance Ranch is a veteran. Is an Army Special Ops veteran. Amazing guy. Doesn't want his name out there. He doesn't do this for publicity.
He does not.
He scolded us today for
yes, he did,
putting his name on Facebook that we had to delete. But
and I inadvertently flipped that switch at the racetrack yesterday. By kind of joking about a scenario that took place when he was out on the track, and I shared with him that somebody had made a comment about me being a cripple, and that somebody needed that he needed to control his cripple down on the racetrack, which was I completely made it up for the scenario. We all thought it was kind of funny.
He did not.
When he got out of his race car and we said that, he went instant red, like he was going to go break somebody in half. So he 100%, he cares, he has passion, takes care of his people and the things that he believes in. I can't thank them enough.
Badlands.
Badlands is
that's what got us here.
Yes, it is. Badlands is always a part of my life, always a part of Chris's life. It's what brought our friendship together. It's what brought my friendship together with Al Quackenbush, the vice president of the board. They are huge supporters of the grant. I feel like we're always missing people, always missing people. Four Arrows Outdoors, they've been with the grant every year. Frontline Archery is with the grant every year. They donate an Epsilon bow rest
from Hamsky
every single year.
The arrow wrap, one stringer always does custom arrow wraps for us. The list just goes on and on. And this year's recipient, I mean, just to look at the enormity of it, this year's recipient is getting a $20,000 package.
Correct.
For free.
And this is what I would like to express to anybody listening. I've had people in my life circle. It was last December when we started. Well, maybe November, December timeframe when we started to really start pushing A3G out into the social media to get people ramped up for application, the application cycle. And I had somebody say, "Hey, glad that you're opening this back up now so that we can provide support. We want to make a donation." Supporting our nonprofit, it doesn't start or it's not confined to the application period. That's a completely different side of the grant. Even though we're sitting here rattling off all of these companies and all of these organizations that are supporting the grant, and we're throwing out some numerical figures to what the grant is valued at for our recipient, we need support.
Yeah.
We need people to come in and help be a part of this. There's so many things going on with the grant outside of the equipment portion of it that we could really use help with, and it's not that support is required year round, not just during the application period.
And the biggest thing we've gotten to, and it's gone very rapidly, but we've gotten to the point where we have enough stuff.
It's funny. My wife says that to me too, and I
know, but we have what we need to be successful on the hunt. What we really need is we need people to share what we're doing, and we need more applicants. That's what we need.
We always want more applicants.
We need the word to get spread more.
And we need financial support.
We do.
Because founder or president still pays for things out of pocket. And it would really be nice if we could come to a healthy state within the grant to where it might be valued at over $20,000, but Aaron Ritter and Limb-itless Outdoors is still hemorrhaging from his wallet to continue to make things behind the scenes happen.
Yeah.
So support throughout the year.
And if you want to support, we have a great raffle going on right now.
So we do. I wasn't going to talk about it in this podcast.
Well, you want to talk about support the grant. That supports the grant.
If somebody listens to this a year from now, they can be like, oh, what's this raffle?
Well, they should have listened to it when it came out. We might have another raffle by then.
We might. I like your style. So if you on social media, you can find A3G on Instagram. It's A3G Initiative. It's on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We have a website. It's Limb-itless Outdoors is the main website, the main URL. www.a3ginitiative.org is a domain of Limb-itless Outdoors. If you go to a3ginitiative.org, it will take you straight to our page. There's a donation link there.
There is.
We will have the QR code on the website soon. It's also where when the application period is open, you can go there and apply. We'll talk about that in a minute.
And you can also get in touch with any of the board members. You can read their bios. You can, read the mission statement.
You can see we have information up on our recipient from the very first year, and you can look and see who was a part of the grant that first year. And we have the second year as well. And that every year we will continue to add our recipient and
our Hall of Fame.
All pretty much our Hall of Fame and those that supported and helped get that person to that place with the A3G. So there's ample ways that you can contact us and support the A3G. So the process itself, January 1st of every year, the application period opens, and from January 1st to April 15th, either the amputee themselves can apply or
be nominated.
If you, as the listener, know of somebody that is deserving, you can nominate them by filling out the application for them. Or if you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that's related to somebody that knows somebody, you can direct them to and or apply on their behalf.
That's right.
On April 15th, we shut it down. The board members review all of those applications independently. We vote independently, and then we go through and we tally all of those votes, and we have our first, second, and third, which really boils down to we have our first choice applicant, the majority vote, and then we have an alternate. And then we make contact with that individual. we verify that they are who they are, and we start rolling that ball forward. And then we get to make the announcement, which is typically towards the end of April. And then we are, this year, again, the inaugural year for the Gas Bowstring event, try to make that happen as close to the announcement weekend as possible so we can get the bow in the hand of the recipient as soon as possible. And then that first week of October is when they get to come down here to Texas and hang out and shoot whitetails.
And have a good time.
Yes,
That's the most important thing.
This whole thing is a good time. And you know, Chris and I had a really good discussion today because this is all, you know, the announcement happened today. And if you happen to watch the video, we went live on Facebook today for the announcement, which is the first time that we did it. And I tell you what, every time we do something for the first time, we have so many different learning lessons, as we should. And we start writing down notes and we start planning on how we can do it better the next time.
Last year we learned that I need to put a pop-up blind on my range.
Yes.
So that Friday afternoon, when we're out there practicing and verifying that the sight's still on and all that after travel, we can verify that they're comfortable shooting out of a blind.
Yep. But 3 years in a row now, when I've announced the recipient, it hits me so hard emotionally, right in the feels. I get choked up. And last year, the first year, I poured my heart and soul into that first year, and I kind of anticipated that it was going to happen. Going into the second year, again, I poured my heart and soul into it again the second year, and I thought that I had control of myself going into it. You know, it's like, all right,
I've known you long enough, you have no control.
And again, it just punched me right in the soft spot. And so pouring my heart and soul into it again, and the board, you put the board together, and the board is close-knit, faithful group, and came down here thinking, oh, you know, we hunted turkeys this morning to no avail.
Killed a coyote.
Weathered tornado class winds.
Yeah.
You know, a box call wasn't even penetrating the breath of Mother Nature this morning.
A train whistle wouldn't even get a shot gobble.
No, it would not. Not even a really good quality bugle off of a Phelps, Jason Phelps signature pink diaphragm. That wouldn't even get a shot gobble. No. But you know, thought I had all the excitement washed out and worked out of me, and we walked out on the archery range and started doing the live feed. And when I set forth to announce Dustin Pruett's
I think
name,
that mule deer behind you stuck you right in the feel.
Holy cow! I started getting all snotted up again. And last year, my wife told me, she said, Aaron, when this stops hitting you in the feels, then it's probably time to either step down from the position as founder and president, and or just not do it anymore. And you know, Chris, I was sharing that with Chris today in the truck after the announcement, and he pretty much said the same thing. And I think I equate it to buck fever. If I stop finding the enjoyment and the health benefits and the passion that I have for archery and hunting and backcountry in the outdoors, then it's probably time for me to put that equipment down and find something else to do. And I just look forward to this every single year.
And I'm not going to discount. This is a lot of work that's put in by a lot of people.
It is.
But none of it seems like work.
I totally agree. So,
if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life.
That's right. I think we'll wrap this podcast. I'm hungry.
I wonder if they're done doing selfies.
I hope so, because that casserole's ready. We should have sent a text message. Send a text message. Preheat the oven to 350.
They're probably down at the barn taking selfies, but I will
Do it.
I'm set.
So, Dustin Pruett. Dustin Pruett's 24 years old. Dustin Pruett lives in Indiana. Dustin Pruett is a bilateral lower limb amputee. Dustin Pruett has been suffering from his disability. I'm going to retract that statement.
He's not suffering. He's doing great.
Dustin Pruett has been impacted by his disability since he was born. And when I say impacted by his disability, meaning that he was born with his ailment. And Dustin had not a disease. What's the right word? I nailed it earlier. Now I can't remember. Dustin had a club foot on his left foot. He had a femur. He had issues with his right leg, and he had webbing deformities on his right hand. So shortly after childbirth, they amputated his right leg. And after years of some different processes, they ended up amputating his left foot, so leaving him as a double lower limb amputee. He grew up through the Shriner program till he was 18. He moved forward in life despite of what he was born with. He played sports in high school, loved wrestling. His father is a 25-year volunteer fireman as of 2024. Mm-hmm. Dustin was raised in that environment around the fire department family his entire life, had a dream of being a firefighter. So he overcame his physical ailments, went to college, got his fire science degree, and he is now a volunteer fire department with his father, which I come from a firefighting background. It just really, really strikes those chords with me. I just think it's an incredible story.
Well, and you touched on the Shriners. So he came up through the Shriners Hospital, and then when he aged out of their program, he turned around and became a mentor.
Yes.
For kids that were in the same shoes or the same prosthetics he grew up in.
Yes.
To mentor them. And you know, you talk about a guy that has, I mean, from the day he came out of the womb, he's been overcoming obstacles, and that's what the grant's about. Using archery to overcome obstacles. And
look at our banner on our Facebook page or Instagram page, overcoming obstacles through archery. And this is what he is doing. He climbs fire towers to create awareness for amputees, injuries, overcoming obstacles, and to support those that deal with the things that he has dealt with, that he was born with.
I mean,
he's a substitute teacher.
A good human that's given.
Incredible
despite the hand that he was dealt.
Correct.
He's still giving back.
He is a troop master for Trail Life USA, which is similar to Boy Scouts, but it's faith-based. So they take young men into the outdoors. They teach them life skills. They teach them things to help overcome adversity, and they work to bring them closer to a relationship with Jesus Christ. Again, I talked about this all last year. Mm-hmm. I talk about it during the live feed from the announcement today. Powerful. That is when people ask me if I can describe A3G Initiative with one word.
Powerful.
My word is powerful.
Impactful. You can have powerful, I'm using impactful.
I just love it, man. I absolutely love what this 501c3 is about. I think maybe we should bring this to an end so that we can go feed our tapeworms. Anybody listening, please, if you want to support an organization and you're not sure who you want to pursue, the A3G Initiative is always looking for the assistance from others. We are a veteran-founded and we are a veteran-based 501c3 nonprofit. For reasons that I would love to have conversations about with anybody that's interested, there are reasons why the 501c3, this nonprofit that I founded, is not specific to veterans. You are not required to be a veteran and or a first responder in order to be eligible for the A3G Initiative.
You just need to be missing a limb.
If you're an amputee and you want to get into archery and you want to leverage the sport of archery to improve your mental and physical health and set new goals and to help better your life and your future, A3G Initiative is there for you. All you have to do is apply. And if you're selected, again, welcome to the Hall of Fame.
Well, and if you've got an obstacle, we're going to give you a boat to overcome it.
That's right. Nicely
you
done.
Like that.
Nicely done.
Not bad for an Army guy.
Not bad. Well, I'm going to close this out like I do every other podcast. Be limitless, Chris.
I try to be.
Yeah, you better keep trying.
Let's go eat some King Ranch casserole.
Thanks for listening in, folks. We'll catch up with you next time.